This is Anup here. It's a Microsoft certified professional, and I have cleared AZ 305 certification also of Microsoft. And here I'm just sharing my experience and some knowledge of Azure Storage in Microsoft. So, what is the agenda? What is the agenda of this video is that as Azure Storage overview and the architecture, uh, and then premium storage, scalability target, authentication access control, and common usage pattern. So here we are going to discuss about all these points. Also, we are going to discuss about the storage life cycle, okay, the real time and the near time, the long term and the archive. So in the real time example, we can see that we have the options of caching, search, HPC, database, high performance workload, event processing. Okay, in the near time we have the compute, video, standard workloads, and that's all. And the long term is time based, use based, expiry based, size based, and the archive is backup and the compliance. Okay, so 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 what are the key foundational storage scenarios? The key foundation storage scenarios is also is a we can see there is managed structured data and structured data in the event messages, backup files, as infrastructure as a service, VMs, video files, data transfer, and the log files. Okay, so first of all, we'll discuss about the standard storage. Block blobs. Okay, for streaming and storing documents, videos, pictures, backup, and other unstructured text and or binary data, we use block blobs. Okay, file storage. Now, the file storage is now generally available. It uses industry standard SMB 3.0 protocol. Share files between application running in your virtual machines using familiar window API or file REST API. Now, the third one is page blobs and disks. Okay, that is the optimized for random read and write operations. Page blobs are ideal for virtual hard drive images. Okay, so we can see that in the Microsoft Azure, we have managed structured data in form of SQL databases. Okay, and SQL, which is on infrastructure as a service, and SQL for data warehouses, and we have stretch database, we have Hadoop also. Now the unstructured data in the form of the table storage, which is a part of the storage of uh, uh, storage part of our Microsoft Azure. Along with the table storage, we have a blob file and queue also. Table storage, we along with the option of table storage also, we also have document DB, which was now can be called as document Cosmo DB also. Other NoSQL SQL storage are also there in the Microsoft Azure. So event messages. Now the event messages, as we have the storage table storage, I already told you what is queue is there also there. So the queue is also there, and the event hubs are also there. The event hubs are play a very important role when we have IoT applications. Get my point? So the thing is that here we can see that the backup files. The backup files which we are using here is the blob storage. Okay, um, the cold storage, the store simple, Azure backup, and archive storage. Okay, so now as we have infrastructure as a service, also we have VMs, virtual machines. So what is the role of storage in the virtual machines? We can see that the page blobs and disks are there. Okay, page blobs and disk. Okay, the disks which are present inside the virtual machines are inside the page blob attached, and we can decrease or increase the size of the virtual machines store size virtual machine hard drive size, and that can be done very easily with the use of PowerShell only. And as we have Azure Files also, and we have Azure Site Recovery and Azure Backup also for the yes for the VMs. Okay, the video files. The video files, the storage play an important role in for the video files also for with the help of the Azure Media Storage and the block blobs. We can put the videos in them, and data transfer for the import and export. The storage are helpful for the import and export also, and log files. We can say that the log files also the append blob is there, which once only once created will exist there, and as you can overwrite on it, means you can append on it. We cannot just delete, or we can just we cannot just replace and write it. All the data stored there will be exist, and we can just append the data on them in the form of append blob. So in this entire slide we can see that we have the main storage which are generally used in the small uh, usages are table storage, queue, block blob storage, page blob, block blobs, and append blobs, Azure files also. So these are the mm, primary storage uses of the Microsoft Azure. Also, for the relational database storage, we have SQL database. Okay, and we have for data lake and other facilities, we have Hadoop also there. Okay, so now if we talk about the storage application, so we see that will be discussed later. First of all, we should see that what is the Azure storage. See, we have to put in overview what those storages. So again, here I am going to just briefly introduce that what the core services of the offered by the Azure storage. So the Azure storage offers for the handling of the storage of the VMs, hard drives, for example, and the storing of the files in the form of a binary large object blob, and for the images or any uh, data type. For example, if even the exe executable files also can be encrypted and sorry, changed to binary line or line object and can be stored inside the blobs. And we have very various features in the blob, which we can say that we can have a features. We can privately share the link of the blob or publicly with the security. Okay, so now we can also say what is the Azure storage accounts. Okay, so an Azure subscription can have 100 storage accounts. Okay, provide the capacity for up to 100 storage accounts, each of which can store up to 500 TB terabytes. Okay, so you have basically 50 petabytes of storage in the single subscription. Okay, so now we can see a storage account is uniquely addressable. How? See, it's very easy. You can see here we have the account name first mentioned, and the service name, and then we have a common postfix of it is core windows.net. Okay, so it is also available that we can see that as, each of your storage account is a uniquely having a global unique DNS name. Okay, which I just told you. The structure of the DNS name is in the name of your storage account. Okay, and the service endpoint within the storage account, which we will cover in the next slide. Okay, followed by core windows.net. Okay, so now see, storage account is being created on this global unique DNS name, so they are available from anywhere using the REST APIs. Okay, so open source client libraries available in .NET, Native, C++, Java, Android, Node.js, PHP, Python, Ruby, PowerShell, and iOS. Okay, so all these client libraries are available in .NET. Okay, by which we can access the this globally unique DNS name of storage and use them in our application to for various functionalities to achieve. Okay, in the cloud applications or yes, any applications. Okay, so storage replication. We have also mentioned in this video before. What is the storage application? What happens with the storage application? Why it is done? Why it is needed? Okay, we have also had a question that what is data replication? Post data is in what quantity show here. So here is the table representing the number across the types of replication. Okay, if you can see that data is replicated across multiple facilities. Okay, so local resources, geographical resources, okay, zonal resources, and remote access zonal resources. Okay, local is LRS stands for here locally redundant, and GRS stands for zone redundant only for the blob. Okay, and GRS here stands for globally redundant. Okay, and GRS stand here for the read access geo redundant. Okay, so the data can be read from the secondary location as well from the primary location. For example, sometimes what happens um, when there is a network issue from the primary location, the data is not able to fetch from there, so we can fetch the data from the secondary location also. Okay, so the number of copies data maintained for the separate nodes is in the LRS it is 3, in the ZRS also 3, and GRS, that is globally redundant, then there is 6, and the RAGRS is also 6 only. Okay, so data can be read from the secondary location as well as the primary location and only in the read access geo redundant. Getting my point? Okay. So, so one reason is that the locally, while having the feature of storage in the for the locally redundant, we don't have the replicated data in the across the multiple facilities, and the rest of the uh, fac- uh, uh, features which we have of ZRS, GRS, and RAGRS, we have the data replicated across multiple facilities. Okay, so we can say that for GRS, when we create a storage account, we select the primary region for the account, and secondary region is determined based on the primary region and cannot be changed. Okay, so now was can say about premium storage. So high performance storage from VM workloads. Okay, the ideal for input output intensive workloads. Okay, supported with S series VMs. Okay, DS, GS, and FS. Okay, the DS series can support up to 40 data disks, up to 64 kilo of IOPS, and 960 megabytes per second. Okay, GS series can support up to 64 data disks and up to 80,000 IOPS and 2000 MB per second. Okay, premium compared to the standard storage. Okay, what is the difference between the premium storage and the standard storage? We're going to discuss that here now in this slide. Okay, so Azure Storage Analytics performs logging and provides metric data for the storage account. Okay, so now you can use this data to trace, request, analyze usage trends, and diagnose issues with your storage account. Okay, storage analytics is not currently supported for premium storage. To analyze the performance matrix of VMs using disk or premium storage accounts, we have to use the operating system based tools, which such as Windows Performance Monitor for Windows VM and IOStat for Linux VMs. Okay, we can we can also enable the Azure VM diagnosist on Azure Preview portal. Okay, so refer to the Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine Monitoring and Azure Diagnosing Station. Okay, which is whose link I will providing in this video's comment box. Okay, for the details. Now, what we are going to compare the premium account, premium storage and the standard storage we have. So backed by the SSDs instead of the HDD. Okay, three sizes of disks are available: 128 GB, 512 GB, and 1 TB. Okay, now IOPS per disk vary from the size of the disk: 500, then to 2300, and then 5000. The throughput per disk varies by the size of 100 MB per second, or 150 MB per second, and 200 MB per second. Okay, according to the size of the disk. Getting my point? Now, storage cost. Yeah, that's the main factor in this. The storage cost incurred based on the size of the disk instead of the amount of data. Getting my point? It is size of the disk, not the amount of data what you're going to put in the disk or not. Okay, the storage analytics is not supported in the premium account. That is the big thing. And the play page blob is the only VST. I already told in my previous slide that the storage of the VM is handled by the page blob feature of PSD also, which can be dynamically increased or decreased by the PowerShell commands. Okay, so in the next slide we are going to discuss about what facility we can get by the SQL Server on the premium storage. Okay, so now we can see that we have 16 cores, 112. If we have the uh, data center VM, sorry, uh, and 16 cores and 112 GB RAM and 10 petabyte disk data disk, and the cache of the VM is 576 GB. Okay, so what is the operations execution time throughput, which we can see on the features on the if we have this for configuration in our SQL Server and database with 750 GB data, the single table with 7.2 billion rows, and the single clustered index. If the requirement is there, then the full restore will take execution time of 49 minutes only. Okay, just the figures. What we are going to what amount of data we are going to use to for the accessing, and just uh, for the backup, all this knowledge I'm going to share here. And the full backup will be of 52 minutes. Okay, and throughput megabyte per second will be 249. Okay, now the index can select count star. Okay, it will take almost 25 minutes. Okay, and the throughput will be 470 megabytes per second. And the drop index cluster will take 23 minutes and with 525 megabytes per second. And the create index cluster will take 99 minutes. Okay, with the throughput of megabytes of 252, not 500, it's 252. Okay, now if we have to check operation of check TV, okay, it will take about 54 minutes. Okay, and these all figures are just about up to 140 faster than the competition. Okay, see why? Because of this configuration of the VM having the 16 core 112 GB of RAM. Okay, and the cache of the VM is 576 GB. Okay, so the database with 750 GB data, the single table with 7.2 billion rows is a single cluster index. So these are the figures which are showing that how much effective a premium account can be by the help of the SQL Server. Okay, now actual the whole video actual discussion which we wanted to share here was about Azure Storage Account Services. This is the primary features which everyone should know about the Microsoft Azure. Okay, so first of all, there are four services in the Azure Storage account. As we know, the first we will cover is the Blob service. The Blob service supports two types of blobs: block blobs, page blobs. Okay, the block blobs are used for streaming content and storage of text or binary data. Okay, essentially anything you want to store on it in it. I already told you in the previously in this slide show and the video that essentially anything you want to store in it, the blob, you can do that. But the size limit for the single blob is 200 GB only. That is the restriction, something like that. Now, page blobs are optimized for random read and write operations. Okay, Disks that are used to back Azure Virtual Machine use page blobs. Already in the video I told you that the page blob Azure Virtual Machines use disks which we use to back up, and the Azure Virtual Machine use page blobs. Okay, the size limit for the single page blob is can be only 1 TB, 1 TB. Okay, now they managed in containers. Well, they manage in containers. Containers allow you to group blobs together. Okay, the blobs are for sequential reads. Okay, now read or write at one time, like photos, logs, files. Okay, that is the main feature which blob are used for the sequential read. Okay, the page blobs are for random reads. Okay, 3 copies of the same region. That is what backs the virtual machine services and the virtual machine storage. There is also a new blob type called append only blob. Okay, append only blob, I already told you previously in the slides and the video that the append blob is comprised of blocks and is optimized for append operation. When you modify an append blob, the blocks are added to the end of the blob only via the append blob operation. Okay, updating and deleting of existing blob is not supported. Getting my point? The for updating and deleting of the existing block is not supported. Only the new uh, blocks are added to the end of the blob. Okay, the unlike a blob, an append blob does not expose its block ID. Each block is an append blob and can be a different size, up to maximum 4 MB. Okay, and an append blob can include up to 50,000 blocks. The maximum size of an append blob is therefore slightly more than 195 GB, 4 into 4 MB into 50,000 blocks, that is 195 GB. Okay, now the blobs, we talked about the blobs. Okay, now what we are going to talk about is the file shares. Okay, now for file service is a new service in the preview that supports a, it was the new service in the preview when I was introduced to the Microsoft Azure. But now, which I can tell you just what service provides is that it supports the SMB protocol. Okay, and this allows you to access Azure storage like you would a traditional file share. Okay, it also enables you to share files between multiple virtual machines, which is not something you can do with a disk. Okay, get my point? So what happens if you have a SMB protocol? You have the you access Azure storage in the traditional file share way. Okay, and also it enables you to share files between multiple virtual machines. That is a big thing, that we can share files between multiple virtual machines, which is not something you can do with a normal disk. With the laptop or somewhere we have the disk, we cannot share multiple. Okay, like that. Once created, you can mount the SMB share just like a regular file share. Okay, now the third one, it's tables. Now tables is what, just a short form, we can say that no non-relational data structure. Now means non-relational means no SQL, same way. Okay, the thing is that what we can do with the tables, it's the Azure Storage Account service provided by the Microsoft Azure Tables is there. So the table services provide extremely fast storage of structured data. It is a NoSQL storage solution. I already told you. Yeah. So don't confuse it with the SQL tables. Okay. Just nothing to do with the SQL tables. It's just a NoSQL means that it is a key value storage solution. Okay. When using Azure table, think just of entities. Okay. An entity can have up to 255 properties associated with it. Okay. Which includes three system properties required by the service, and a single GT cannot exceed 1 MB. Okay, so key is there in the table, and okay, for example, key and value also. So yes, yeah, and it's a really flexible storage. Okay, now the fourth one, queue. Once again, don't confuse queue with service bus queue. Let it clear. This is queue, not service bus queue. Okay. Now, what's the feature of queue? Queue services provide a durable messaging store that can be used for asynchronous messaging between application tiers or components. First in, first out is typical, but not guaranteed. Okay, that's the difference. The first out is typical, but not guaranteed. But in service bus queue, it is guaranteed. So that is the difference. One difference we can log in this video, just telling you, is this only. So if you need more robust messaging system, then Azure Service Bus should be considered, which I told you. Azure Service Bus is used for what? More robust messaging system. Now here in the slide I have written Azure Service Bus, but what is the full name of it? It is Azure Service Bus Queue, and that also has more features: service bus relay, service bus topics. Okay, so we have more options in that also. For simple messaging requirements, Azure Queues is extremely effective. Okay, just for the simple messaging. Okay, the Azure Queue we use just for which is very effective. Okay, so this is about the four storage account services which we have in the standard. Now, Azure storage concepts. We have to talk about what? Yes, this. What is this? Azure storage concepts. If you have the account, okay, we have blob, container, okay, table. So blob, container. Don't confuse this container with something else. I know lots of DevOps developers and will be confused with that container. But it's not the same thing. Something else. So this container, we have blobs. Now table, we have entities. File shares, we have directories and files. And the queues, we have messages. Getting my point? Now, what we say that in Azure we have four abstractions of storage. Each of those four abstractions have objects based on the type of data you are storing. A standard storage account gives you access to blob storage, table storage, queue storage, and file storage. Okay, the blob storage stores file data. A blob can be any type of text or binary data, such as document, media file, or application installer. I already told you previously in this video only these examples. Okay, now what is a table storage? I already told you it stores structured data sets. Okay, now table storage is a NoSQL key attribute data store. Okay, which allows for rapid development and fast access to large quantities of data. Okay, now we have Queue storage. Okay. Now the queue storage, I already told you about the queue storage. Okay, now we can elaborate that also. Queue storage provides reliable messaging for workflow processing and for communication between components of cloud services. Okay, what's the workflow processing of the communication between the components of cloud services? That is done by queue storage. Now, the last one and not the least is the file storage. Okay, it offers standard it offers shared storage for legacy application using the standard SMB 3.0 protocol. Okay, now Azure Virtual Machine and cloud services can share the file data across application component via mounted shares, and on-premises application can access file data in a share via the file service. um, can access file data in a share via the file service REST API. Okay, the file storage is available by request via the Azure hmm, Azure portal. Now, each standard storage account can contain up to 500 TB terabytes of combined blob, queue, table, and file data. So, to see the details about this, the standard storage of account capacity, please I will provide the link of Azure Storage Capability and Performance Test Targets. Okay. So, what comes next? In the next video, I will just tell you about this demo that which will introduce the different storage options, and we will come back and show you more in the later demo. That the demo will show the options, tiers, where to access from the portal, or also how they are used, about the Azure storages. Okay, thanks for your watching this video. Like the video and subscribe the channel for more videos on Microsoft Azure.